Welcome to Weed Wednesdays, produced by international broadcast media better known as IBMtv. I'm your host, Jeff Eichen, human rights advocate and social activist fighting for government deregulation of weed and the release of all nonviolent criminals incarcerated for possession of marijuana, moving violations, parking tickets, IRS debt, etc. Here on Weeds Day, we keep the public informed about all things weed related, including festivals and legislation surrounding regulating the growth of hemp. Today, my guests are...
There's something happening here. There's something happening here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today we welcoming home Craig Cecil. Thank you so much, Universe, and all the blessed pod angels and reformers that are being patiently awaiting their turn, and for their families. We can wear as many T-shirts as we want, and we can support everybody that we want. But when we get an example to come home, we're so blessed and so happy. So we will get Craig Cecil on. He's been all over the marijuana internet recently, and he's looking great. He feels great. And so the ladies we're going to interview today have family members inside. And that's actually the, I wrote it out here, but I'm actually talking about it. The members, we're going to hear from them today, have nonviolent prisoners in jail for marijuana, and the impact that it has on the families. We haven't talked about that yet, and that's actually the second episode of my series of my film. So I want to support my film. So go to lifersthemovie.com, everybody, to support us, to get us to produce another film to tell their story. So today we're going to tell the story of the families. I have guest host Amy Pova. We're so blessed to have the women in weed all over the map and represented today. Amy, why don't you unmute yourself? I'll mute everybody else here. And let's see here. How do I mute everybody? Well, anyways, Amy's on, and welcome, Amy. Do you have something to say to the ladies?
Yes, I just want to express my appreciation, Jeff, once again, for you creating a platform so that more people can share the stories of either their own personal experience or their loved ones who are in prison, as is the case with Carla Lunsford and her son, Donald Fugit, who's in serving 17 years and 6 months, and Tracy Gore Pike, who's going to come on and speak about her son, Lance. And Carrie Cannon, who's just an amazing advocate, who is also going to share possibly the story of some people who are being persecuted for pot. But with no further ado, let's give the platform to some of our guests and let them share their own personal stories.
Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today and coming on board. From here on out, we're going to ramp and amp up the acceleration to bring your family members home. And then when we listen to Craig Cecil, he's our most recent person to come home. We're going to let his energy go right to the directors that are the ones that are going to direct your child and your family members home. Let's start off with the top and work our way down. Carla, unmute yourself, please, and have at it. Tell us a little bit about what impacts your family after all these days, months, and years, and tell us your story. What are your circumstances?
Okay, thanks for having me on. Donald, our son Donald, was sentenced to 17 and a half years. He was arrested in 2013. He was sentenced in 2015. He has 3 children. They are 7, 13, and 16. It has impacted us tremendously. The mother of the children got out of their lives. They haven't seen their mother in about 6 years. So Donald's youngest son is 7 years old. He was only a few months old when Donald was arrested. He lives with my daughter, and I have the 13 and the 16-year-old daughter with me. So there's a separation there. They do see each other often, but there is a separation. So that's one way it has impacted our family, is the children don't.
They get to have visitations?
They do get to have visitations. Of course, they've had Donald so far away, all the way. We're in Texas, and they've had him all the way as far as California.
Do they move him around?
They have moved him around several times. Yes, yes. And right now he is in Louisiana. They haven't seen him since December. Of course, the pandemic came, and they had him. Donald was in the SHU for over a year. While they were in the process of transferring him, they had him at the USP at one point. Donald is a nonviolent first-time offender. Donald had no record whatsoever other than a DUI. He served his probation time. He did his community service, paid his fines for his DUI, and they enhanced him because he had a DUI. But he had no other record whatsoever. So this really devastated us. Never in a million years did we ever think Donald was going to be sentenced to 17 and a half years for his involvement with marijuana.
And how old is Dennis?
Donald,
yes.
He's 35.
And so how long has he been in?
6.5 years.
So the impact on Donald himself is huge. Now, what about the family members? How are they dealing with it? Do the children get questioned at school?
They have been, because we live in a small community. So Cassidy, the 16-year-old, she has been questioned. She has teachers that went to school with Donald and graduated with Donald. I believe most of them have signed Donald's petition, and they ask her all the time, how is Donald doing? So everybody in our community knows about it. We've lived here for many years. They miss their father desperately. They do have their own emails where they can email him back and forth through core links. But not being able to see him often has really devastated them.
Is there a JPay and an ID number where people can send Donald some message of inspiration and love?
No, the only thing he has the core links.
And is core links available to the public? I mean, I just want people to be able to communicate and to share their love with him. So, you know.
Oh yeah, the way the core links works is he would you could send him your email, and then he would accept you, and then from that point on, you could email back and forth. Mm-hmm. And
so, is that corelinks.gov or .com? How do we?
It's corelinks.com, I believe. Yes.
Okay, so what's Donald's total name so they can core link him?
Sure, it's Donald Clint, CLINT Fugit.
And
FUGITT.
FUGITT. So everybody, get on core links and keep in touch with your prisoners. Make it something fun for you. But because we're privileged and we're outside, and we're dealing with all these matters right now. Hint, hint. We now have our prisoner matters. Maybe that's a new line. Remember, the matters right now is super in the news, and I believe that branding helps to make awareness, and shows like this help to look at the Freelance Floor t-shirts and all that stuff. It's very important for us to share with the world that we have prisoners in jail for nonviolence.
Oh yeah, most definitely. My shirt I have on right now that says "Free Donald Fugate." Carrie sent this to me.
Fantastic. Any questions for Carla, Amy?
Yes, I'd just like to add that we have sent Donald's information over to a law professor who has helped us in the past. And I'm glad to say that as of today, he said that he would look into the case. I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's my impression that he's willing to take the case, but we're just now sending him over paperwork. And he's in Oakdale, which people who follow the pandemic and the prison system probably remember was one of the first and hardest hit prisons in the nation for symptomatic COVID-19 cases. Now, I don't think that's, Carla knows better than I do. I was asking her this morning whether there was any symptomatic cases where Donald is housed, because it's a complex like most prisons where there's low, medium. I don't know if there's a penitentiary there as well, but there was one young man at Oakdale who sent a letter to his judge. It was just a 2-page letter. It wasn't a motion or anything, and explained that he was in Oakdale and the symptomatic cases were on fire there. And much to our surprise, the judge granted it the very next day. He didn't even, I don't want to give people a false sense that this is common, because it's not. But the prisoner, also sent a request to the warden the same day that he sent it to the letter to his judge. So he didn't even wait the 30 days that you're supposed to exhaust for an administrative remedy in order to prevail on one of these motions. So we want to be cautiously optimistic and encourage people to pursue compassionate releases during this time, particularly during the pandemic. Although we don't want people to be reckless about it and think they can just send a letter in. But we feel really excited and hopeful that we'll soon have a compassionate release on the way on Donald's behalf by working with this particular law professor. But when the time comes, it's always good to have as much support as you can get. There's a change.org petition for Donald. Carla can explain it. She posts. Tracy Lance Glore is amazing. So is Carrie Cannon about pushing out people's change.org petitions, but also advocacy. But anyone can go. We have Donald's profile page on Can Do that people can access, and the change.org petition is on his profile page that you can just find by Googling his name. You can either find it by Googling his name, it'll pop up Donald Fugate, his change.org petition, but it's also on Can Do's website. But we all have to work together to lift everybody up. And again, thank you. Let's just move on to the next guest.
Welcome, Tracy. Give us your rank and style. Tell us how you're feeling and how your hope is doing these days. And it's nice to see you, everybody, from pandemic. And it's really, really great that Amy and I are joining online. It's gonna reach Portugal. We're gonna this IBM.tv, folks, is global right now. And so I'm really blessed to let you know also in other countries that we're speaking for you and for your prisoners in jail too, that one day in my lifetime, I pray that we'll end prohibition and all the prisoners will come home with no record and they can have a job again. Welcome, Tracy, and here you go.
Hey, Jeff, Amy, everybody, how are you doing? I don't know, I keep getting like phone calls in here. I hope it doesn't interrupt it, but can you hear me?
Yes, you're great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Lance was involved in the big raid in 2013. That was when Kristen Fluor's dad was raided clear over in Montana. They were looking for a kingpin, which we all know that wasn't Lance, but anyway. He was sentenced in June of 2016, and he's sitting right now locked up at FCI Sheridan over at Oregon. The judge put him behind bars about 15 days before his only child graduated from high school. And her and him have had to endure this, and she just graduated 4 years of college at ASU, and they need each other. And I'm sitting here today with my mom because I'm trying to fill Lance's shoes. He was my mom and dad's caregiver. My dad was taken to the ER last night by ambulance, and I need Lance home. Lance needs to be home. He doesn't deserve to be locked up in a prison for Washington State legal medical marijuana.
And how long has Lance been in so far?
Since June of 16,
And how old is Lance?
41.
So what is a core link or a JPay that people can give some hope to your son?
Lance does core links. I think that he has to, I'm not sure how that works.
Well,
Yeah, I think he has to have your email or something. I'm not sure how that'll work, but you can write Lance. I mean, he really needs to get mail, encouraging mail.
so do we send it to you and you send it to him, or is there an address to send it to?
You can just send it to Lance Gloor, Gloor. His ID number is 44270-086. That's at FCI Sheridan, PO Box 5000, Sheridan, Oregon 97378. Make sure that you use white paper, white envelopes, blue or black ink only, no glitter, no stickers, no fragrance. It will be sent back.
Well, fantastic. And what is we all spent time last year at HempFest. How are we going to pull that off this year? Are we going to make our own little festival here? Maybe we should. I mean, I just thought of it right here, this very moment. So we can just all come together for a day or two and have a full day of activism.
Yeah, that'd be great. I know it's not happening at Seattle, so we should all do something. Yeah.
And Amy, do you have something to add to Tracy?
Yeah, Tracy and I were communicating recently because I was curious about the status of Lance's case. And Tracy, would you please explain the latest kerfuffle? Because it seems like if things aren't difficult enough, the BOP, there's always a technicality. There's always some little glitch, and we get our hopes up, and we're making progress on the football field. We're getting closer to the infield, and then there's yet another hurdle. And Tracy, would you explain this latest situation that's developed with Lance?
Okay. Time of sentencing, the judge gave Lance 2 points for a gun enhancement, which we all know the jury found Lance not guilty of that gun. It wasn't his. And anyway, but the judge felt that he could do it, so he gave him the points. Well, I sent in for the home confinement, and apparently it was denied, because he is labeled violent because of those gun points. So he had a team meeting with his counselors, and they told him that needs to come off of there, and he can be reconsidered for the home confinement. And if he can get all that taken care of, then he can possibly be home in 16 months with the RDAP program, whatever it's called. I'm not sure what that is, but that'd be great. But he has to somehow get rid of those 2 points that he shouldn't have had in the first place. And he got a new federal public defender, thank God for that. And she said that Lance was so screwed in that trial by his trial attorney. She should have never let those points be put on there. And she's doing all she can to help him. But Lance is looking for a U.S. Supreme Court ruling, I think it was recently, that would help him get those off. And I think Chad Marks knows about that, but oh Lord knows Chad needs to be out of prison. Anyway, that's the latest. So we're hoping to do that. And Weldon Angelos is working on the compassionate release prison.
Well, we were all there in Tacoma with you, and even the second stint upstairs in Seattle. And my heart goes out to all the families that have anybody in prison left still. And on January 1, I made my New Year's word for the new year was hypocrisy. There's 33 states that are legal with marijuana, and all of these things. We need to balance the universe, the world, the separation, and bring our children home. Any final words, Tracy? And we'll get back to you. Any final words?
I just don't understand why all these weed prisoners are in prison and there's so many other people getting out. These guys have families. They have lives they, have to live, and this time isn't refundable.
Without a doubt. Well, we bless you so much, and for being patient. And I wear your T-shirt all the time, and people ask me about it, and I don't go a day without saying Lance's name. Now that I know about Donald, Donald's in my heart, Carla, and we're gonna jump over you, Glenn, here for a second, and we're gonna go to Carrie. Carrie, give us your introduction and unmute yourself, Carrie, please. There you go. Welcome.
Hi, Jeff and Amy. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. And hi to everybody else. My name is Carrie Cannon. I am not blood family to anybody that I advocate for, but I can say through doing this work with Tracy on behalf of Lance and also advocating to stop the prosecution of Peggy Kimmel and Glenn Keeling, we've become like family.
And what is your job? What have you been doing for the community for all these years?
I've been trying to help bring greater public awareness of Lance Gore's injustice of his 10-year federal prison sentence for legal medical marijuana in Washington State by making T-shirts and sending those out and having people write up support signs for Lance's freedom. Tracy and I work together, collect the photos, make them into collages, and then Tracy emails them, or not emails them, she mails them to the White House and directly to Lance in prison to help him know that he's not forgotten and to help keep his hope alive. Been doing this similar thing with Peggy Sue Kimmel and Glenn Keeling, and also putting out calls to action for people to take action and hopefully help put a stop to these injustices.
So the idea is to keep pushing on and to become publicly aware, like this show today is talking about the families, global listeners right now. We're talking about families that are affected by their people in jail, their family members that are in jail for a nonviolent act, okay? No guns, okay? No rape, and no alcohol. And so, we have no shame and blame, but we feel shame and blame because the system is wrong. It's hypocrisy. That's my January word for the year, is that not until we re-legalize marijuana and bring all of our prisoners home will I release the word hypocrisy. And Carrie, thank you so much for all of your effort and work. Amy, do you have something for Carrie?
Unmute. No, I actually think it would be great to hear what Glenn has to say. I'm only aware of their case through the work of Carrie and Tracy, and I can't wait to hear more about it because I know it's a horrible travesty. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And I do have a couple calls to action if I can put those out real quick.
Sure, bring them on. It's your turn right now.
Awesome, thank you. For Peggy Sue Kimmel and Glenn Keeling, for people who don't know, they are facing over 50 years each for medical cannabis in Ohio. How this all came about was gifting 2 grams to a patient in need. So we're asking everybody to please call Mercer County Prosecutor Matt Fox at 419-586-8677 and asked that he drop all charges against Peggy and Glenn. If his answering machine is off like it frequently is, you can email him, prosecutor@mercercountyohio.org. Also reach Governor Mike DeWine in Ohio, governor.ohio.gov, or 614-466-3555, and ask that he stop the persecution and prosecution of Peggy Kimmel and Glenn Keeling. They are also collecting letters to the Honorable Judge Ingram asking for leniency. And emails can be sent to Glenn. It's GLENN.Keeling, KEELING .GK@gmail.com. And a couple more for Lance Glore. One, if you're on Twitter, please send a tweet to @RealDonaldTrump. Important to keep this just about Lance. And if you have other comments or opinions to express, please keep those separate. We want to get Lance home. Tweet him, ask him to tell him you support the pending clemency of Lance Glore, GLOOR, number 44270-086. Also email the White House at whitehouse.gov/contact. You can also state you support the pending clemency of Lance Glore. One thing I've been putting out and hoping people are doing is asking that all nonviolent federal marijuana prisoners be released during this epidemic.
Immediately. Thank you so much, Carrie. I felt, Carrie, the first phone number that you said was fairly important. Can you repeat that first phone number and the person?
Oh, Mercer County Prosecutor Matt Fox. The number is 419-586-8677.
Okay, everybody, we have Glenn and Peggy Sue. I actually met with them when I was in Ohio last year when I was actually going to visit this gentleman in prison, Michael Thompson, everybody. And so as everybody goes, I'm nothing special, but I've made it into prisons to visit these people that are still behind bars. And so I don't toot my horn. I just toot the horn to make it louder so we can bring this sweetheart home. And then now we're going to talk to Glenn Keeling, and his wife, who are, for, as Carrie said, for 2 grams, are going up this week for their sentencing. And we got to drum roll and pray that they just don't give you anything and they let you stay home. And welcome, Glenn. Tell us your story.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me on and doing this. It's awesome. Not a lot of people, want to bring attention to a lot of this. Yeah, as Carrie was saying, and Jeff, my name is Glenn Keeling. I'm the co-founder and chapter coordinator of the Creative Care Beacon, which is the Ohio chapter of the Human Solution International. Back in 2017, October 31st of 2017, our home was raided under the pretense that we were drug dealers. But just before that, the story before that, Peggy and I, we both have ran and are running several different national organizations. We do a lot of things. We're both ordained ministers. We're marriage counselors. We have a lot of people at our house a lot of times. I mean, we've got people in our living room now as we're talking. I mean, so our house has always had people here because we're good people. We're informative. We do a lot of different things for a lot of different people. We led the National Marijuana March in Cleveland twice. We've gone to Columbus and done it twice. This is in several years. I ran for mayor of our community. That next following season, I ran for city council while being medical patients. We seeked out being medical patients because pharmaceuticals for us had quit working, really. I mean, we were at a stagnant with more and more and more and more and more pills, and we were sick, and cannabis for us was a way out from pharmacy. I suffer with horrible COPD and I have Crohn's and fibromyalgia. Peggy has MS, fibromyalgia, diabetes. She has plaque on her brain. She has plaque going down her spine. She has neuropathy. I mean, the list goes on and on. So the medical that we had to take, of course, with all these symptoms were huge. We were able to alleviate and get rid of those medicines through cannabis and using cannabis. So we become medical patients. State of Ohio become legal in 2016. Signed in 2016, became law September 8th of 2016. So in October, Peggy and I went and become medical recommended patients to try cannabis for our medicine. We were able to alleviate and get rid of a lot of medicine. But moving up, like I said, we had a lot of people at our home. We ran normal. We are still running SWAB. We run the Human Solution International. So we do a lot of meetings. We do a lot of counseling. We do a lot of talking to a lot of people. Still, even today, even going through the case we're going through. We were raided because I gave 2 grams of cannabis oil to another patient, to another, I gave him sacrament. It is because it was through swab. So, I mean, we consider cannabis to be sacrament as well. So gave him 2 grams of sacramental oil to help him with his pain. So unfortunately, the gentleman got pulled over and he said, well, yeah, I got it from Glenn, Didn't see a problem with it. They showed up here at my door and they said, well, we're here to take your illegal drugs. And I said, well, no, I have sacrament. I handed it all to him because I thought I was in the right. I mean, they confiscated less than what 2 patients are allowed to have in a 90-day supply. And I say that word aloud with quotations because, again, we're adults and we're using it as sacraments. And I don't think anybody or any organization or group of organizations should dictate what another people's put in their bodies. So,
well, considering alcohol's legal,
right? I mean, come on. I mean, Xanax is legal. Adderall is legal. I mean, the list goes on of what's legal, but is it really good for you? Is it going to help you? How much more harm is it doing for you than a plant? Really, honestly. But moving forward, the prosecutor has, I am charged with 12 counts of felony 4 and felony 5, possession of cannabis. I have a felony 1 of manufacturing cannabis, a felony 3 of child endangerment, felony 4 trafficking, and now they threw in 2 minor misdemeanor possessions, just to be on the one side, I guess. I don't know. But again, that was October 31st of 2017. And I do believe that we are going on now 2 years and 8 months on this case still. And what we have coming up on the 29th, we're facing a plea deal. And that going to a plea deal is the only way that I can secure and be safe and sure that my wife is not going to end up in prison and that we're going to have a home when I do come home from prison. Because the deal is Peggy pleads to a felony 4 child endangerment and 2 felony possessions. I have to plead to a felony 3 manufacturing, felony 4 trafficking, and a felony 5 possession. They will not argue community control for Peggy. They did take the house and all the mandatory minimums off the table. They did remove all the forfeitures on the house to ensure that Peggy and the house was going to be here. I'm going to be facing 2.5 to 8 year sentence, and that's what the prosecutor is going to argue. Hopefully I can, with the letters that you guys will write for us and leniencies because of Peggy's failing health, and found out yesterday my lung capacity is only working at 44% with my COPD. So a prison sentence for me, of course, I'm not going to be able to have medicine and I'll have to be going back on pharmaceuticals. For me, it's very detrimental if I have to go to prison. So I do appreciate any letters of leniency. that we can get in asking for probation. I would prefer, honestly, to have probation 2.5 to 8 years for giving somebody 2 grams of cannabis oil is absolutely ridiculous. Like Lance is facing 10 years, for legal medicine. Craig was facing a life sentence. Thankful God, man, the man got to come home, but he was facing life without parole for alleged cannabis that he had no control over, never even seen. The man has never even touched it. So that's our justice system. But that's what we're facing on the 29th, is a plea deal hearing, a change of plea deal. So that's what's in store for us. And then after that, I think that they'll set a sentencing at another time.
So is it inevitable that you're going to spend some time?
According to the prosecutor, yeah, I probably will serve some time, I guess, because we fought the case as long as we have fought it. Of course, we pissed people off. Our attorneys even told us that we're going to have to take a deal to save face for the prosecutor, that fighting this is going to be inevitable, that he will push for the full maximum amount of time if we're found guilty of anything. And of course, I admit I gave the guy 2 grams of Sacramento oil.
It's legal in 33 states.
Right. I did not, man, I didn't think I was doing wrong by just giving somebody something that I thought would help them. But I don't think I'd change that, though.
Amy?
I mean, helping somebody and helping people is what we do. I mean, Peggy and I, even before our case, we've gone to court for people. We've advocated for people. We've had fundraisers helping people raise money for people in prison. We've helped raise money for people with cancer. We've had countless fundraisers and countless events for, I mean, it's not like we just crawled out of the woodwork one night and, oh, here we are.
Glenn, keep your pants on tight and your heart in the right place. Even when you're in, do your work, and we're here for you. We're here for you.
That's just who I am. There's, no matter how much I suffer, there's somebody else, man, that's suffering way more than I am. If I can give just a little bit of help to that one person, I'm going to do whatever I can. I mean, even now, if I have to go to prison, I'm sure there's somebody in there that's hurting worse than I'm going to help them, try to help them figure stuff out.
So when Tommy Chong, I interviewed Tommy, he said that he felt like he was a reporter for the troops inside prison. He said, I feel like when I was in prison, I was being a reporter for the troops. So when you go in, use it and find, take your spirit in there and whatever beliefs you have to keep you through the day, but also go in, like you just said, and do your work.
Right. Well, I'm going in armed with quite a few phone numbers. Man, did a couple of podcasts and radio shows, and I'm going to call. Trust and believe. I'm going to call. I'm going to be a pain in everybody's ass. I'm going to get as many people's help as I can, because look, people are suffering in prison. I'm going to be calling, and you're going to hear my voice, and I'm going to be telling you what kind of shit they're doing and what kind of horrible things that's going on in prison. I'm going to give you the truth of it. I'm going to candy coat it. I never have, and I won't. I will be advocating for other people in there. There's people in there hurting. And they need the voice. They need to be heard too.
On this whole panel, who has the update on COVID in prison?
It's rampant. I know what's going on here in Ohio. Almost every prison system, jail, county, most of them do have COVID. They've got. I have a guy that calls my show, Adam Fogelman, who is in Franklin County Medical here in Ohio, and 95% of their people, their prisoners, and almost, they said 86% of the staff have COVID. They have them on a quarantine lockdown 24 hours a day. They have gotten them iPads and iPhones, one iPad and iPhone for each room, each locked area, and the prisoners pass that around person to person. So I know that at least in Franklin County that you put it together, 98% of their population, whether it's staff or inmates, have COVID.
So
the hospital across the street from them, which is a prison hospital, 100% of their people have it.
So that's horrible news. But what about using the card that your lungs are at 45%? You can't go in where there's COVID. Have you tried that yet?
Well, that'll all come to light at sentencing. We can't really bring, we're told that we can't bring up anything like that, or none of the letters or anything like that's going to do any good. People have to email me the letters so I can give them to my attorney so he can make copies and give them to the prosecutor.
What's your email address for everybody?
Yes, my email address is Glenn, GLENN KEELING.GK@gmail.com. So yeah, I'm gonna call and make reports, but I know that most of our Ohio prison system are all on lockdown because they have all. Yeah, I'm going to bring up, but we can't bring none of that up until sentencing. We have to get through the plea deal Tuesday first to be able to get to sentencing.
It seems like a prison is like a cruise ship.
Well, that's kind of a different way to look at it. I mean,
and not going to Cancun to get a Mai Tai. No, you know.
I don't think you're gonna have a cabin boy bringing you dinner. You're not gonna get lobster and steak, that's for sure.
Amy, what do you have to say?
Well, first of all, my heart is just devastated for you, Glenn. I feel your tears in my heart and soul. Excuse me. I was in your shoes, and it was such a lonely, horrible feeling. There's no worse feeling in the world than being helpless, where you're at the mercy of other people who are dictating your life, your future, threatening to take your home away. They put you in a position where you are the perfect example. And there's been several articles about this recently, about why innocent people, I'm not saying you're innocent technically, but why innocent people are people who are facing a trial, go ahead and plead out instead of going to trial, because it's like they take you down and hog tie you and threaten you with everything they have, including to put your family members in prison, take your property away. It's blackmail, pure and simple. And going back to the child endangerment, that is the most insane charge in the world. Do you know you can overdose on water? You can actually die from drinking too much water, but nobody can overdose. Nobody has overdosed on marijuana. You go to sleep. So children could not be safer in a home where that is your medicine of choice. So that is so ludicrous, and that's another thing that we have to tackle. And also, there was a movement actually by the conservative group to try to get mens rea back into jury instructions, where the jury is told that you have to determine that the person mentally knew what they were doing and chose to break the law, which is a mens rea clause. And that was stripped out back when all of our protections were stripped out. But we all need to get behind jury nullification. Of course, you're not going to trial, sadly, but mens rea is something that we need to bring back so that you can't be held accountable for breaking a law if you didn't have the intent. And by you giving 2 grams of cannabis oil to somebody that you thought you were helping, you were doing a good thing. So you're being crushed by your virtues, not because you were trying to commit a crime. We have so much work to do, and it's just so devastating that life is hard enough. Paying your bills, raising a family, the pandemic, everything else. And then the government comes in and absolutely crushes and destroys you. But go ahead, Glenn.
The very October 31st, we were raided. Our daughter, our oldest son was here at the house when this happened. So he was able to take his sister. Our daughter was only taken from our home for one night. The Children's Service, of course, got involved and they did an investigation. They gave us they closed the case 3 weeks after we after we were raided. And their report was that there was absolutely, even with the cannabis in the home, that our daughter was more than protected in our home. She was never in danger. Throughout this case, even though that we've been charged with possession and use of cannabis, we're bonded on bond to use cannabis. We're not allowed to drink alcohol, but we can use cannabis when we've been bonded. The judge has allowed us to use cannabis throughout this entire case. It's pretty much been 5 months of the case is we were not able to use. The first 5 months of the case we weren't allowed to use, but he put us on bond and bonded that we were allowed to use cannabis going through this case. Even being charged with possession, we've been able to possess cannabis and use cannabis going through this case. So he made a ruling. There's a ruling, it's been judged that at the time of the incident that we were within law and our paperwork was within order. So, I mean, with the rulings that he's made and with what we've gone through with this entire case, we don't understand why we're still going through this case. I mean, and nobody, including we don't have a defense team. And I'm okay with saying that because our attorneys have been shit the entire time. And they told us from the very beginning, and we're going to have to take a deal in order to save face for the prosecutors. We were told this 2 years ago. And we've been fighting. We've been using everything that we possible to file motions, different motions.
Don't these people have any conscience? I mean, don't they get it? Don't they get it?
The thing is, Jeff, is the law is completely on the prosecutor's side. He can do this. If he so chooses and wants to, he can go to grand jury and stack on as many charges as he wants to.
Right, but everything is changing and evolving, and marijuana is legal in so many places.
They don't care, and nobody's stopping them.
So let you be an example of being brave and being strong and being the voice from the inside. Take it in, man, and come out stronger. And I will make the poster, and if somebody with money will put it on La Cienega Boulevard, let's get a billboard, okay? Let's get a billboard. If you're going in, this is ridiculous. It's 2020, you guys. It's 2020. We need your billboard.
It's an essential business during a pandemic. So. And I'm so sorry, Glenn. I had the same situation with my attorney. He didn't want to talk to me about my defense ever. Of course, he was court appointed in Waco, Texas. And in fact, he told me I was going to go to hell for my religious beliefs. He was a religious zealot himself. And
I've heard you're absolutely, my attorney absolutely, again, he's not for being a medical patient. He thinks cannabis is a root of evil.
How can he represent you if he feels that way? And can anything happen before sentencing where anybody can? I know it's too late, and I'm so sorry.
Amy, we have been to the state house. We have talked to. We have 99 representatives here in the state of Ohio, and Peggy and I have probably talked to 87 of them. And we got calls and emails into the rest that we haven't talked to face to face. We've even been able to talk to David Yost, not personally, but through contact, and there's nothing anybody's willing to do. It says there's nothing, any one of these people, there's 100 people with the power in the state of Ohio to pick up their phone and tell Matt Fox, hey, stop doing what you're doing right now.
We want to keep you out, man. You're not in yet. What can we do last minute, everybody?
There's 100 people. There's a list of 100 people on ohio.gov. Contact them. We have exhausted our voices and pens and papers on contacting these people to know. And honestly, God, we get the same story from everybody. It's not in our jurisdiction to help you.
Can you
That
send?
is our answer. That's the answer that we keep getting. It's not in our jurisdiction to help you, but there is 100 people in this state that can pick up the phone, and it's not just in our state. This is in every representative of every one of their states can pick up the phone and put a stop to any prosecution. Their prosecutor. That's their boss.
Glenn,
The prosecutor has to listen.
Glenn, we need your information. So text it to me later today, and let's go massive with all of our Marijuana TV people that are online. Let's go massive. We only have a few more days for you. Let's go massive and see what we can do. Last minute is this. We may have an angel here. Let's freaking do what we can. Send me your contact. Send Amy your contact. Tracy and Carla. And I'll post it on my Facebook. Everybody else do the same thing. And you guys, this is the emergency. When is your sentencing?
Well, it's not a sentencing. We're up for a plea deal. It's a plea deal hearing on the 29th, which is Tuesday. Okay, we have a few days, everybody, and I'm sharing, globally a few days. But the people that are local and that are attached to this conversation we're having, everybody, get out there. Don't sit around. Don't go out and play with your tomatoes. Help Glenn and Peggy. This is an emergency. I'm calling you out, everybody, to do the emergency right thing. I will post what Glenn will send me today, and the rest of our team here will do the same thing. And we want Tracy and Carla and Carrie to have thank yous from me. Thank you so much, Glenn, for being brave. And we're going to poster child you, man, for sure. And for sure. Hi, Tracy. Carla and Tracy, let's go with Carla first. Any final words, Carla? You're muted. You're muted. Unmute yourself, Carla. Let me see if I can do it. Hang on.
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I just wanted to say thank y'all for having me on here. Listening to Glenn and his story, it just brings back so many memories from Donald's case and how they arrest you and put you in there, and you can't take it to trial. You just can't. You don't know what the turnout's going to be, so you have to plead. And so I feel for Glenn and Peggy, and it's travesty. And like Amy said, they found marijuana essential during the pandemic. The government let them keep their businesses open. That's great. That's wonderful. But let's bring our pot prisoners home. Let's bring them home because they are essential to us.
Well, today's show, everybody, is about the families, and Glenn and Peggy came in at the last moment, but they're the top on the list right now because Glenn is not in, everybody. And can you imagine your own self, waking up, doing your morning rituals, going to the garden, going to the bathroom, making breakfast, and Glenn may be going to jail tomorrow or next day or soon. Mm-hmm. So we're going to keep rolling here on our way out. Tracy, are you with us still?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, we got you. We got you. We don't have your face, but we got your walker there. Give us.
Turn your phone around.
Okay, go ahead.
Turn your phone around, babe.
Oh, this is crazy. I'm crying.
Live TV, everybody.
Anyway. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you everybody else for what you're doing. And Tracy, we're going to still continue to advocate for Lance until he can come home as well. So I greatly appreciate everybody's hard work and what you do, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Glenn. We'll get that post out to everybody. It's an emergency, everybody. Tracy, any final words?
Yeah, I want to say that I just love Peggy and Glenn so much. And man, you know what? We're going to be on this battlefield for you guys no matter what. And with Lance and Donald in there, I tell you, those guys are in there for a reason. They're helping other inmates, and they need to hear from you. And I tell you what, when I need pepped up, I write Donald. That guy is one awesome creature of God, let me tell you. And thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, everybody.
And Carrie, any final words, Carrie?
Yeah, I just want to have everybody keep in mind that Craig Cecil's release is proof that public pressure works, and there's absolutely no reason we can't use the same formula to, keep Glenn out of prison and not have Peggy face felony charges,
Right,
as well as freeing everybody else.
right.
So I encourage everyone.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to encourage everyone to please make the phone calls, emails, and please share the information.
It's up to us, everybody. 300,000 signatures is not a lot, but it worked for Craig and it worked for Jeff Mazansky. And these people are home to prove it. And let's get 300,000 signatures by tomorrow for Glenn. Okay, Amy.
Final word for people who aren't connected, and we're trying to jot down this information as Carrie was reading it out loud. We're all on Facebook, and so for your listeners, if they wanted to send a friend request to Carrie Cannon or Tracy Gore-Pike, Carla Lunsford, I'm under Amy Can Do because the name of my organization is Can Do. You can access the information by connecting with us on Facebook, because Carrie and Tracy, Carla, everybody, Glenn, they are posting all the time, and that's a great way to access information and make us stronger so that we all can continue to communicate with one another together on that platform.
And you can reach me also, and if I don't have their direct contact, I will get it for you, everybody. And bless everybody for showing up today. Bless Amy for being our co-host today. And Glenn, I'm going to visualize. I'm going to do one of my sacred geometry meditations and throw the third eye and surround you and your family. So the surprise, magic, and flow will be that you don't spend any time inside. And if you do, make the best of it, man. And before you go in, come back on. Even if we don't have a show, before you go in, if that's going to happen on a time we're not on a show, let's record you again and keep calling us. We will share your words of wisdom and your heart. You're a fantastic soul.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. I greatly appreciate it.
Weed Wednesdays, everybody. We are on Weeds Day. It's the hemp day instead of the hump day. And all I can say is thank you, Nugent, from behind the scene. That's our co-producer today. And we want to share and thank everybody, the Glore family, Carla and Donald, Carrie, and especially Amy for all the work you've done for all these years, and everybody. And we're rooting for you, Glenn. In when we're around Passover, we got to say Mazel Tov to you. So, it's because you're strong and because you're articulate, and we all are. Nobody should be in jail for a plant. I guess we're out, everybody. Hemp hooray. And everybody give me a 3 for weed. Everybody give me a 3 for weed. One, and I'm going to do a shot here. Boom, we got it. Thank you, Hemp Hooray. Nugent, roll our outro.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Weed Wednesdays, produced by International Broadcast Media, better known as IBM.tv. I'm your host, Jeff Eichen, human rights advocate and social activist fighting for government deregulation of weed and the release of all nonviolent criminals incarcerated for possession of marijuana, moving violations, parking tickets, IRS debt, etc. Here on Weeds Day, we keep the public informed about all things weed related, including festivals and legislation surrounding regulating the growth of hemp. Today, my guests are
There's something happening here. There's something happening